If you're a spiritual seeker, you're gonna love this video. Let's talk about past life regressions. So I had a dream a few weeks ago, and I do actually write down my dreams. I do dream recall. I write down notes from them and things that I experienced and saw. And I know that I wrote down this dream, but I can't remember where I wrote it. And so now I have a dedicated dream journal, so I make sure that everything's like organized. But I would like to find where I wrote this down. I'm just not 100% sure where I wrote it. However, I did remember a building that I saw in the stream. It was very vivid. And I felt like inside of the building, there was some sort of spiritual teacher that I was meant to meet with. So fast forward a couple months, I was watching an episode on Gaia. Gaia, if you don't know what it is a spiritual or a conscious TV subscription app with a bunch of episodes on spirituality, consciousness, and ancient teachings, as well as history. So Gaia, whenever you open the app, it suggests certain videos. And I felt called to this one video. This one specifically was on a past life guide. Some spiritual practitioners, their sole purpose is to guide others through past life regressions. This video did an interview on somebody that went to get a past life regression. So this episode eventually takes us to the Past Life Guide Center. I believe it's called Life Between Lives with Triona. And this is based in Ireland, by the way. And I saw the building and I paused the video and I was like, there's no way. That building was the exact building from my dream that I had a month ago. And I was like, what, like, I don't even understand, like, why. And then I was like, oh, wait. I've been waiting to do a past life regression until I felt it was ready, until I felt like it was time. Because the past life regressions can be a pretty crazy, deep experience for some people. So I was hesitant to do it for that reason. However, at this point, after practicing spiritual techniques, after healing, and after meditating for about 4 years, I know I was ready to handle it. I knew I was ready to handle it, so I just did it. And this past life regression, this past life experience was extremely vivid. And I believe that I have a gift of really vividly seeing details from past lives, because I told my mom about it, who is also a spiritual practitioner who actually got me into meditating by introducing me to Master Ko. And she mentioned that she had done past life regressions before, but never experienced as vivid visions and details as I did. And I thought that was really interesting, and I didn't realize it until I told her. I figured I'd share with you because I think it's very, very interesting, and I would rather share my experience than bottle it up and, keep it inside just for me. So in this past life regression, I immediately was shot into a chariot driver in colonial America sometime after the Industrial Revolution. Apparently, and it was crazy. It was so vivid. It's like I could feel the vibrations of the bouncing of the cart, of the chariot. It was very, very weird and very, very vivid. I was leading the horse and cabin down a stone road with walls of houses on either side. And apparently my job, it just came to me intuitively. My job was driving mill or plant, like power plant or steel mill bosses to their business meetings. And at this meeting, something went wrong. Whenever I dropped the boss off for them to go have their meeting, something went wrong. And out of fear, I fled without my passenger. And somehow I ended up in prison. I was let out after a short time. During that time in prison, I channeled that it was a time of a lot of reflection and acceptance, but also regret for how I spent my adult life. It seems like in this life, I always felt like I had a calling for some sort of higher purpose, but I just never found it. So this is pretty cool. I had vivid details written down, like I could see the body I was incarnated in. I had black hair. I was dressed in a top hat with a coat, dress shoes, a monocle, apparently, like the Pringles man, and a beard. I had one of those upside down U beards that just went straight down. So then after that experience in prison, it jumped me back to a memory from that live's adolescence, from a younger time in his life. So my memory is an adolescent from that life. I was abused and ridiculed for some reason and felt like nobody around me accepted me for who I was, except for my mother. The whole vibe of the setting was really dark, gloomy, and gray. The only thing that I saw in color, the only time I saw color was when I saw my mom telling me everything was going to be okay. And she said that people fear that which they don't understand. My mom had an elegant royal purple dress with red hair and light gold accents. And I feel this is whenever the entire message kind of clicked. My mother died when I was in my adolescence, leaving me feeling alone, sad, and empty. It felt like the only person who understood me and accepted me for who I was just left so early. After that, I don't think I got over her death for a very long time in that life. It seemed like I lived a lone wolf's life. Like I lost my desire to find my true purpose and felt like I was meant for more, but I settled for the consistent wage that I had. So, skipping to the time of death, I made peace to an extent, but still felt alone at the time of death. I died from illness at a relatively old age, 60 to 70s. There was nobody there for me when I passed, aside from the nurses in the room. The whole setting was gray and gloomy. So at the beginning, I kind of wrote these notes out of order. At the beginning, the past life regression guide had us go to a memory from our childhood from this life first, before jumping into the past life regression. So my memory from this childhood was I was at Wrightsville Beach. My family went to Wrightsville Beach. Apparently I was 7. That's what intuitively came to me. And I was happy to be playing at the beach with my brother and with my family, even though it was dark, gray, and gloomy out. It was borderline storming during that specific memory at Wrightsville Beach, and it was gray and gloomy. There was no sun, but I was still having fun playing with my brother on the beach and enjoying the time we had there, even though it was short, because I do believe it started storming shortly after that. But even though it was dark and gloomy, I didn't care. I was a kid full of energy, I was a happy, curious, and energetic kid that could be colorful even when the sky was gray. And so I put together that the main lessons are: spend time with family and loved ones and friends. Do not become obsessed and lose sight of some things that I value in this life. See and live through color regardless of how gray things get. It's all happening outside of you. And another thing that kind of came to me after that was, I think that I have a fear of abandonment because of something that happened in that past life, because of the fact that I lost my mother in that life at such an early age and had nobody else around me, and it seemed like I kind of just accepted that and I didn't do anything to change it, or if I did, then those attempts were futile for some reason. And it makes a lot of sense. I personally have had a lot of instances where I, especially with women figures in my life, have a fear that they're just gonna up and leave me. They're just gonna leave me and stop talking to me, ghost me, whatever, for whatever reason. And I just have a hard time accepting and dealing with that. And I feel like sometimes I act and behave out of fear that may happen. So I feel like that's why that message resonated so deeply with me. And I feel like that was one of the main messages I was meant to get from it. I think that experience was very helpful and necessary for me at this point in my life, and I'm so glad I received a sign to do it. And I thought it was very interesting whenever I did share that experience with my mom, and she told me about how vivid the details were that I was explaining, and how not everybody is able to receive that much information and receive that much intuition through those past life regressions. And one of the craziest things is, whenever you're doing a past life, you start to think oh, did I create that? Did I just fabricate that? But you just have to trust that all these things are coming into your head for a reason, and you're not fabricating them. You have to trust that these things are being intuitively channeled, and that everything that's happening in the past life regression is not a fabrication of your mind. So if you do seek out a past life regression, I personally just looked it up on YouTube. I looked up guided past life regression. I will link the channel that led me through the past life regression. I'll link the video actually in the description so you can check it out if you want. It was about an hour experience. If you feel you're not ready for it, if you feel as though you haven't been meditating for long enough, you haven't been spiritually on the spiritual path and spiritually advancing and evolving for long enough, then don't do it and wait until you receive a sign to try it. And if you do experience it, I advise you to just trust. Just have faith and have trust that everything popping into your head is popping into your head for a reason. Not everybody's going to experience vivid visions, but everybody does get a message from past life regressions. I personally experienced it with headphones on and with an eye mask. I love putting eye masks on for deep meditations. Whenever I'm just doing like a shorter meditation, like say 30 minutes, in between like 5 and 30 minutes, I will not put an eye mask on. But if I'm doing like a longer meditation, that one was, I believe, like 50 minutes-ish, I'll put an eye mask on. It helps you get in that deeper state, it helps you stay in that deep state. And just make sure you are either lying down or sitting up with your head supported, because you will start to like drift off. You really do get into a deep state whenever doing these past life regressions. And like I said, don't practice it if you feel you aren't ready. It can be a deep and possibly intense experience for some people. So if you love spiritual deep dives, then subscribe and share. Click the like button and check out that guided past life regression video in the description if you feel you're ready to experience it. Thank you so much and have a great rest of your day. Namaste.